Nice. Looking
We can chase.
Vlad.
I'm dubbing Vlad. Kill Vlad. Now. Kill him now.
Kill Vlad now. Go. We got this.
We did it.
We fucking did it, yeah.
I'm going top.
We got this.
What an upset! TSM will fall to Team Liquid 2-1.
Hello and welcome everyone to NA LCS Tonight. My name is Julian Pastry Timecar. Joining me this fine evening is Aiden Zyron Moon and Sam Kobe Hartman Kensler. Week 9 now just wrapped. It's been a long one as well. How are you both feeling after a very long weekend?
My brain is fried, especially after today. The two longest matches of the NA LCS 2017 Spring Split on the same stream. So I'm watching one, like, when am I going on? It's like, man, this game, 64 minutes. How do you beat that? 67-minute game.
Pretty sure CLG were inside of the base with 3 inhibitors down for about 30 minutes.
We were on that game.
Collectively.
It was awful.
Yeah, I think that says it all.
All right, we'll have a look at the standings now just to see how the season has all finished out. In the top, TSM and Cloud9 in first and second. Our 4 other playoff teams, Phoenix 1, CLG, FlyQuest, and Team Dignitas. Immortals and Echo Fox in the safety spots. And then Liquid and Envy hanging out there. We'll be playing in the Pro tournament.
Yellow, safe. You get to relax on your couch, watch everybody else fight it out.
You're sad you're not playing in playoffs.
A little bit sad, a little bit happy. You get a little bit of both.
Yeah, you're kind of in that purgatory, right? But it does give Echo Fox and the Immortals some time to look at their problems, not have to play a whole bunch of matches, maybe take a vacation, and come back and be like, hey, we're switching up. Because like that's the thing, is you're switching up any roster or any part of your roster, you can do it a little bit earlier.
See what you did there with the vacation thing? Well, have
A rare esports vacation.
Have a talk about some of our matches. We had a number of really interesting matches this weekend. We'll start with the fun one. TL versus TSM. Team Liquid, unfortunately their run all the way to 8th did end, but this was a fun one.
Oh my goodness, what a surprise it was. Double lift. You know he set out with something to prove because he's going to be trying out for TSM as soon as summer comes along. And he did make a bit of a statement in this series. Miraculously, they actually won the entire series. We thought it might stop at 1 game, but it did not.
So he smashed in lane pretty much every game. And I feel bad for Turtle after that because I know that the community's going to have their eyes on him because you know Double Lift is said that he wants to be back on TSM. He thinks he's going to get back on that team. He's got to try out for the spot. This was his tryout. I do think that he passed it. But also, like TL, they were picking on Turtle a whole bunch as well in these matches. Even like the Olaf pick from Reignover to run straight at the Ashe. It just ended up being a game that TL finally pulled out a victory here.
Yeah, exactly. All the eyes are going to be on, the double lift and Turtle drama. But Reignover absolutely smashed. He set them up extremely well and was a huge part of that victory.
Yeah, it feels like finally it is nice to see Reignover playing well. Next match, though, we are going to look at Cloud9 versus P1. At one point, this was going to be a battle for some of the top spots, and it kind of fizzled, to be perfectly honest. I think Cloud9 kind of found some form again.
I don't know what's going on with P1, but they subbed in Shady, who's never had professional games before. After this one, where Stunt had a bad performance, but it's also not a good lane matchup for him in the first place. So I don't really hate too much on Stunt for the 0-7 on the Taric. I do think that he didn't play it well, but then they go, all right, it's time to get Shady in there, and it's still kind of the same result.
So the story, coming out of this one for me is that Phoenix 1, heading into playoffs, look like they're still choosing between which rookie support is going to help out Arrow here. And if they're this deep, these are extremely fresh rookies. Being able to switch those guys out in playoffs, I do not think is a good thing. It's more of this, ooh, which one do you feel better with, Arrow, on the given day?
Yeah, and also, we saw Nori today for the first time in a long time, and I believe he finished out the series 0-2, of course, but now they're still picking between supports, they're still picking between junglers. Like, what's going on with Phoenix 1 coming into play?
I mean, how much of this is P1 just saying, you know what, we've pretty much locked our spot. All we can do is help Cloud9 a little bit. Let's just playing and give our subs some stage time.
Yeah, little tinfoil hat on for a moment.
You say that, though. These are both rookies. Like, you want more stage time on whoever you're going to be going into playoffs with. You're like, we want to balance it, get Shady up there for a little bit. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me, even if you're taking the route of, we don't care as much about this match, so we're not going to worry about it too much. I think you still want your stage practice time on the team that you decide you want to play playoffs with.
Yeah, and also another thing that you have to consider is if they beat TSM, TSM drops to the 2nd seed, And that's your semifinal opponent, because third has to play second if they win, even with dynamic seeding, because they're the highest seed, right? So they will always slot into the second place team in semifinals. So that was if Phoenix One beat TSM, then they play TSM, which you would maybe say like, okay, that just sounds like if they beat them, that they can beat them again in the semis. Mm-hmm. Maybe they're subbing their rookies in and they're having this flex around because they don't really mind playing Cloud9 versus TSM. It's kind of choose your poison. But I feel like they were okay playing against Cloud9. Maybe more desirable than TSM.
Maybe. Who do we think looked better, though? I mean, we've had two different substitutions, one in the jungle, Meteos versus Nori, and then Stunt versus Shady. Mm-hmm. I mean, for me, it feels like the best-looking P1 has been Meteos and Stunt.
I think in general, yeah. The game right before Nori got subbed in, Meteos did have a little bit lackluster performance. I don't think the difference there was very big or anything.
Feeding the bot lane.
But as you said, I think in general, if you're taking all of the games into account, they have looked quite good with Meteos. So, maybe you give him the nod there.
What about Stunt?
I honestly don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like Stunt has a great champion pool, and they've been able to utilize that with the Nautilus flex pick. They picked it one game, flexed it to top. Game 2, they flexed it to bottom, and then they picked Kled in the counter matchup. So I thought that was something that they were able to abuse. And some of the players at P1 were like, oh, he's got such a big champion pool, because they were playing with Adrian before, who really does play those range supports a little bit more frequently. So Stunt opened up a wide variety of champions for them. But I feel like Shady's kind of like Vel'Koz when you look at his solo queue. He's got brand support, and I feel like Stunt just has a better champion pool and a little more
even
experience.
more champions. That's what it was. Well, we'll move on to Dignitas versus Immortals. Probably the biggest playoff implications, actually, for this whole weekend was this match. And Dignitas did come out ahead, but Immortals put up one hell of a fight.
Yeah, they sure did. And a large part, we always talk about they live and die by Dardoch. He had some really good plays. He had some plays where he was reaching too far. Team Dignitas very happy to take this one home, though. And due to the effort of all of the members of this team, they really came together. For me, though, a big standout player, not only this series, but their previous series this week, has been Chaser in their matchup versus Cloud9. Even though they lost to Cloud9 eventually due to poor late game, he was smashing them in the early game all over the map. And this guy definitely, I think, is a huge performer for the team. There he is right there. Ha!
Yeah, my boy. But I also feel like beginning of the split, there's North American junglers, we in there. Nori, Katie, got all these guys who were popping off and doing really well. Moon looked really good. Now it's the Korean junglers are actually here. Lyra, Chaser, it's they're doing damn good work in the jungle. And I actually love watching these guys' routes. Chaser, he was the first one to really do the Raptors into red, into Krugs, into 2-minute and 40-second gank, and opened up someday. And then everybody's like, oh, wait a second, that's an option that I can do. Mm-hmm. And then everybody's going after these things. So I feel like there's some innovation there a little bit for Chaser in the jungle, and it's cool to watch how that spreads over to other people.
I just feel like part of this is a lot of the Korean players just gelling more with their team. You look on the Immortals side, I mean, they looked like they could be in playoff form, but unfortunately for them, didn't have quite a good enough early season to
I thought
really
they were going to win it.
Get them going. I mean, certainly could have. And, look at a player like Ole, who's clearly gelled so much better with the team. Flame is true as well. And we can also see that in Someday and Chaser for the Dignitas side.
Yeah, not so much for Looper in the top lane for Equifox. No. That one's still coming along.
Yeah, definitely. Looper's had some of those engages just a bit too far away from the team, and he commits a lot of resources for those as well. The one coming to mind is the flash taunt into the middle of the enemy team. Definitely have to clean some of those things up. But as you're talking about, Team Dignitas, I did choose them at the beginning of the day, even though that series is super close, and it did end up super close.
Well, Dignitas do come away with a nice win there. Let's go over to our OP5, though, and see which players have impressed us the most throughout the weekend. We got Haunter in the top, Chaser jungle, Jensen, Double Lift, and Smoothie.
Yeah.
Interesting smattering of players.
Haunter, back to the Tree SM, especially today. Had a game where he was 5-0-0, spilled water, so, almost didn't give him
almost
this.
sabotaged
Almost.
himself.
Man, can't be OP5, a little clumsy there, but still, Haunter, I think he's been playing incredibly well all throughout the split. And he's somebody that people are considering for MVP.
Yeah, and he talked about, calling for more resources. The ganks up top were very effective. And his communication with Sven Skaren is one of the things that is definitely a good attribute to highlight for any top laner.
Heard a bit about Chaser already, so Jensen, I mean, I think he's been actually pretty up and down most of the season, but his last few games at least, if he's only spamming Orianna, he's very good on that champion.
Orianna, every game. I mean, even in those games that they were losing at the beginning, it was one death, right? And that's the thing that really impresses me about Jensen. He's still the highest CS per minute in the whole league, 9.7, doing an amazing job there. But also, when they lose games, I look at his deaths, he's got like 0 or 1. I think he hasn't really gone over 4 or 5 deaths.
Binary
in
player.
losses. Yeah, either died or didn't. Yes or no?
All right, what about the bot lane, Kobe? We had Doublelift and Smoothie to round out our duo for this week.
Double. I mean, we had to give it a double after that. Like, really coming in with Team Liquid to defeat TSM. His play in almost every single match was outstanding. There was a couple of them that were just basically even, and he didn't get out to a huge advantage. But as far as all the AD carries this week, we actually had a couple of the other runners drop down a bit. Arrow had a pretty bad set for him for a couple
His
of
worst.
games. Even Sneaky, he had some really good Lucian moves that I liked in one of the sets, but not quite to the carry level that Doublelift was just jumping out there, and he decided this is the time. It's gonna take Team Liquid over TSM.
What happened in the next series then? Couldn't carry that one.
Yeah. Smoothie, though.
They're just like, well, he did it.
Yeah, oh, well.
My tryout.
Yeah. But then Smoothie, I think, also deserves a big nod because there's been some great support play this week. We saw Olay do like twice the damage of his AD carry. We've seen even Hakuo, I think, in the last series that Envy didn't win, but he still had really clutch hooks, really set up a game for his team. But Smoothie does that on a very consistent basis for Cloud9, and he's also a large part of their communication. Like, that guy is nonstop talking during their games.
The games I was talking about where Sneaky was looking good on Lucian, dodging, it was Smoothie on Malzahar as well. He had just as many kills as Sneaky for the first 15 minutes. He was keeping right up in there. And then he goes and he roams. He starts flashing on mid laners. This guy, he does so many things so well. Laning phase, roaming, team fighting, redemption timing is one of the things that I always look for with supports because it actually takes a while to fall. And it always seems that he gets his in just the right place.
Yeah, beat stunt so hard, they brought Shady. Because he made him 0-7 on that Taric. He's just punishing him in lane every ult.
So, you can't be throwing Shady around like that. Well, quarterfinal preview now. We are going to look into what our first playoff matches do look like. We'll start with the 3 seed versus the 6 seed. That's Phoenix 1 versus Dignitas.
Phoenix 1's current form, I have no idea what's going on or who they're going to run. And I don't think Dignitas do either. So that's kind of the toss-up there. But Dignitas have been looking better and better and better as the split's gone on. So that's actually one that's probably closer than you would think it is, depending on who's going to be run for Phoenix.
Yeah, if you're just looking at the numbers, and Phoenix 1 up until very recently, you're like, they're clear number 1, or they're clear number 3, excuse me, and they might even be making a push at TSM and at Cloud9. Then all this stuff with the swaps coming in and who are they even going to be running on any given day, that's the stuff that's throwing a lot of doubt into it. We can still, I think, rely on Arrow and Ryu, and these big performances from these guys. And the versatility of Zig, but there are a lot more questions now than we had in previous weeks for this team.
Yeah, and as the meta is shifting as well, like Arrow actually had his first, I would say, bad day, where both games in his series, he actually did not look good at all. Usually, even I think against Cloud9, he had 1 death in both of those games. And then one of those deaths is like all 5 people trying to kill him at the end of the game. So I would really say he had 1 death in that 2-game loss. Today, it was actually like 6, and he's dying, and he's getting caught. So Arrow did not look completely on point, and Zig looked exploited today. Svenskeren went for a really early gank top lane. Zig gets the least resources out of any top laner, so when you gank him, and it actually works, it's kind of for free, and there isn't very many things in our game that's free.
And when they played versus Cloud9, they sent 6 top lane bans at Ray. Ray's like, all right, I'll play the Kled into Zig, which is like, that's my signature champion. He's the one who really brought it here. And Ray has an extremely good performance versus him as well. So yeah, I definitely agree there.
So I feel like P1, when they're playing at the form we've seen them do already in this season, they look, like they can challenge the top 2 teams. So on the Dignitas side, assuming FlyQuest play to their peak, and maybe even a little more, because it is, that special time in playoffs, what do Dignitas need to do here to win?
Against Phoenix 1?
Yeah.
Well, like Dignitas is so strange because they were dead last. They had 1 match win, and now they're in playoffs and they're 6th, and now they're just barely in there. It's kind of the dream for them. The process came together, and they are looking really good. Like, I'm surprised. I thought they would lose to Immortals, but they were able to actually come from behind, and I think Chaser is a big part of that. Because whoever they're running in the jungle, I feel like Chaser can kind of shut that person down.
Well, I mean, yeah, while I did slightly choose them earlier in the day, I have a long list of improvements that they definitely need to make, right? But we're going to start with the late game, and obviously there are multiple issues in the late game that they have to work with.
Baron?
Right, exactly. The Baron's one thing, that's like a long-lasting one for the squad, but attention to detail as far as vision is concerned has cost them in a couple crucial plays, and that's not even something that really starts in the late game. You really see that process kind of grow over time, mid-game as they're transitioning out of the Dragon area, over to the rest of the map. And those are the types of things that they really should be able to leverage a lot of these early leads that they've been getting.
Well, we'll see if they can maybe tighten the ship moving into playoffs. We'll move into our next match, though. 4th vs 5th seed, CLG taking on FlyQuest. CLG did manage to clinch their 4th slot, thankfully for them. FlyQuest sneaking in with Immortals losing, though.
The two great American shot callers against each other. High versus Afro move. This is going to be a game of tactics for a lot of it.
I actually always used to love the old C9 versus CLG matchups, and so you get a little bit of that flavor here when you're talking about the shot callers and a couple of the core members on FlyQuest matching up. So it's definitely going to be exciting, I would think. Be one of the series where we see a lot of cross-map play, split pushing, 1-3-1, these types of things. And maybe we'll see some fireworks with High trying to pull off sneaky, fog of war, backdoors or anything like that. I do think it's going to be super exciting, especially as far as the pick ban phase, because meta trending really favorable for CLG if Stick stays healthy. But then also FlyQuest are the guys that just love to blast the meta wide open. Some of that was shaken with their kind of loss streak, and I don't know if they'll go too crazy, but you always got to expect there's going to be at least one kind of flavor pick in there for them.
In a best of 5 as well. First game, if you do want to pull out something sneaky like that, you're just like, put that in there. If you win, it might draw a ban for the rest of the series, and it might be good.
Well, I mean, it's kind of funny because these are our 4th and 5th place teams, but who's the underdog in this matchup? Because I feel like both of these teams have had a little inconsistency. FlyQuest maybe a little bit more than CLG.
Well, it's super hard to judge because if just recency, right? We're talking about, Stixay's been sick for the previous week, then this week he gets even more sick and actually couldn't even play one of the games. So it's kind of hard to judge at the moment. He did get a lot of the practice in with the team at least, so we'll see how they rebound off of that, but that's just another wrench that you really have to deal with when you're projecting their skill. We would think that it would increase with healthy members, but it's difficult to look that far into the future.
Yeah, I think that FlyQuest would be the underdog if you had to pick one, just because seeding, etc. But also FlyQuest have been looking a little bit on a downward trend. It hasn't been looking too great for them recently. I feel like their top laner, Balls up against Darshan, usually isn't a matchup in the past that you would be like, yeah, Darshan's got that. Well, I think he might have that this split.
Well, we'll have to find out, but we do want to hear some of your answers out on Twitter as well concerning playoffs. Please tweet at LL Esports. Who is your playoff dark horse and why? Use the hashtag NALCS and we'll collect some of your answers for the future. But of course, that means I get to ask you guys now. Who is your NALCS dark horse for the playoffs?
For me, it's...
Who's challenging 1 and 2?
Well, challenging 1 and 2.
I mean, that's
so. Does that mean we get to use number 3?
I know. I was like, well, I would use number 3 for the whole thing, but for quarters, I would say Dignitas because I don't know what P1's going to do. I don't even know if they know what they're going to do. And Dignitas look a little bit better every week to the point that they've been beating some of the top teams and having a really good run.
Kobe.
If I'm going to dig deep here, I'm going to look actually for a resurgence from FlyQuest. Honestly, those guys, they had a super hard hit to their morale when they started losing. They were stretching themselves very thin. Their practice they were talking about was super bad. And so if you're talking about Dark Horse, I hope that they, can have a sort of slingshot thing here, clean up the practice, clean up the picks, and hopefully right the play. Because they came out of the gates with one of the most exciting teams to watch, and you kind of want to see that.
I mean, how many reverse sweeps does it take to get there?
Exactly.
Make it all
Plus,
the
like
way.
I say, I got that factor of High and, gauntlet-type situations.
That's true. You can lean on High a lot in high-pressure situations. He's definitely going to help you out.
Well, we'll see what happens there. But thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining me. And it's been great as well for the regular season. We are done, though. So good night from us here in the NALCS. We'll see you soon for the promotion tournament.